Hi there everyone and welcome to Techcravers. This is the Anbernic RG35XX SP. Yes, that's really its name. Anbernic, please consider changing your naming strategy. No one would confuse your brand for another if you called it something like Pocket SP or Flip and Go or whatever. Can you imagine telling someone I'm playing on the RG35XX SP? They might think you need medical help. Fortunately, the name is about the only thing I really don't like about this device. On the other side, there's a lot to love about it, and in this review I'm gonna tell you why. But before we jump into the review, I just want to mention that you can now support the channel by becoming a member. I'm keeping it simple and you can only get one perk. This perk gives you exclusive emojis and a member badge next to your name. That way it's much easier for me to see your comments so I can answer those first. So if you want to make yourself heard a little better or get access to occasional member only stuff, make sure you become a member today. And with that being said, let's jump into it. Before we delve into anything else, let's just check out what this handheld actually has inside. In terms of specs, this little clamshell handheld boasts an all-winner H700 CPU paired with an Mali G31 GPU. It also comes with 1 GB of LPDDR4 RAM and 2 SD card slots for external memory. The device features a 3.5-inch display with the resolution of 640 by 480, a 3300 mAh battery, USB-C, HDMI out, and both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth support. The device I received directly from Anbernic is the grey version, which looks fantastic with its retro-inspired color scheme. It almost looks as if it spent a bit too much time in the attic. If you prefer, you can also choose from silver, transparent blue, and transparent black. They all look great, so I don't really think you can go wrong with any of these options. The handheld costs $65, which I think is the perfect price, and including in that price is a 64GB SD card as well. You can add an extra 128GB card to your order for about $15 more, but I wouldn't recommend it since you should only use your own game dumps when playing anyway. And speaking of what's included, when you receive your device, it's the typical Anbernic experience. For those who don't already know what that means, it's a white box with nothing but the outline of the handheld on the front. Inside we get the device itself, a screen protector, a quick start guide, and a USB-A to USB-C charging cable. If you haven't already figured it out, which I think you have because I have a smart audience, the RG35XX SP is designed to look like a Gameboy Advance SP. Unfortunately, I don't have a GBA SP at my disposal to make a direct comparison, but from what I've seen in other comparisons, Anbernic has done a really good job of resembling the Nintendo counterpart, although the Anbernic device I have here is a bit bigger in both thickness and weight. They've constructed the RG35XX SP with high quality plastic that feels sturdy and won't break too easily. The hinge also feels solid and much stronger than what we're used to seeing from other competitors in the market, such as the Retroid Pocket Flip for example. The handheld also has magnets built in to help close it entirely. When in a game or when the device is powered on, thanks to those magnets it will actually go to sleep mode when you close the lid, which is a quite useful feature. However, I did test it out by closing and open it quickly and slowly a few times to see, and it wasn't exactly 100% on the sleep function, but most of the time it works just great. Around the side of the handheld you'll find the volume buttons, a headphone jack, 2 SD card slots, a reset and an on-off button, and you also have 2 LED indicators which show battery status and more. On the back, apart from the USB-C port for charging and a mini HDMI port for external display hookup, we also find the parallel shoulder buttons. I've mentioned many times before that I would prefer stacked versions instead, but since this is a replica of the GBA SP and has the form factor it does, I can absolutely understand the design choice here. Now on to something that's really interesting about this Anbernic device. Anbernic usually sticks with their rubber membrane D-pad and face buttons, but for the first time ever, at least that I can think of, the RG35XX SP has dome switch buttons. This means that apart from feeling more tactile to the touch, they also sound a lot clickier than the Anbernic devices typically do. Here is a quick comparison with the rubber membrane buttons on the RG28XX compared to the dome switches on the RG35XX SP. they sound so clicky that I would almost feel uncomfortable playing this around other people on a bus or a train, for example. However, if you can live with the clickiness of the buttons, they feel really good in all games I typically play on a device like this. And I can definitely see why they went with these buttons. Not at least because dome switches makes the buttons lower, which makes it easier to fold in the screen. Dome switches or rubber membrane buttons are typically a huge dividing factor though, and I appreciate that it's usually a 50-50 split between loving or hating one of the variants. Anyway, opening the device to play your games, you'll be greeted with that beautiful 3.5-inch screen with a wide range of brightness settings and great viewing angles. Anbernic often excels in screen quality and I don't have much to complain about here. However, the device only has one front-facing speaker and the sound quality from it isn't always the best. Fortunately, you can always hook up a pair of headphones to enjoy your old retro favorites in full glory. For those of you who have seen my video of the RG38XX, you know that I had some complaints about the operating system and user friendliness. Unfortunately, it's not just similar here, it's exactly the same experience. Anbernic has, true to form, fine-tuned all the hardware details but taken shortcuts with the software. In short, this means that you have two options to start playing when you boot up your device, either Game Rooms or RA Game. For most people, this means starting their games via Game Rooms, which launches games in an emulator that isn't fully optimized, resulting in lag and poor refresh rates in games. If you start the games from RE Game, however, they launch directly in RetroArch, resulting in a much better experience. Why Anbernic chose to include both of these options on the home screen is a mystery to me, and this is something that Anbernic really needs to reconsider for future releases. Hopefully it's something that custom firmware will address soon though. Strange decisions aside, Anbernic has already configured RetroArch so that depending on which system you're emulating and what native aspect ratio that system has, you'll get bezels on the side that I think look absolutely fantastic. Let me explain more clearly. For example, GBA has a native aspect ratio of 3:2. Since this device has a 4:3 screen, it means that the image will either be stretched to cover the entire screen, which in all honesty doesn't look too bad either, but if you want the feeling to be 100% genuine and thus play your GBA games in the 3:2 aspect ratio, you'll get black bars or a black frame around the image. Anbernic has solved this by adding bezels for you already that essentially make it look like a real GBA SP screen. You can of course turn this off and change the aspect ratios as you wish, but I think it's awesome not having to tinker with this myself. This device, if played the right way, meaning through the RE Game option from the start menu, will play all systems up to and including N64 and Dreamcast without any issues. However, considering that we lack, for example, an analog joystick and considering that the screen is still relatively small, I can't see myself playing those systems very much on this device. Instead, I found myself playing mostly Gameboy Advance, PlayStation and some arcade games. And I believe that's what Anbernic had in mind with the RG35XX SP. But it's reassuring to know that there's more under the hood if we ever want to race in Wave Race or help some grumpy customers in Crazy Taxi as well. Overall, I think Anbernic has delivered a really great product with their first Clamshell Handheld. It's solidly built throughout and the power it provides allows us to play the games we most often want to take on the go. The sleep function when closing and opening the screen works surprisingly well and I had almost expected worse, although I think it drains the battery a bit too much when in sleep mode. The software needs, unfortunately as usual, fine-tuning or a complete replacement with custom firmware to make it a flawless product. But altogether, and considering the low price tag, I really think the Anbernic RG35XX SP deserves my warmest recommendations. And with that being said, I would like to thank you for sitting through this video review of the Anbernic RG35XX SP. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed watching and give it a comment if you're planning to buy a clamshell handheld in the future. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more content like this in the future. Catch you in the next one. Techcravers out.